Okay, we move over to the National League Central, and wouldn't you know it, after a fifth-place finish, the St. Louis Cardinals have the highest projected win total in the National League Central. They're at 85.5 projected wins. That's a lot. I'll make my case right now. I go under on the St. Louis Cardinals. You know I'm a sucker for that lineup. I love that lineup. It's same thing with the Mets, man. As much as I love that lineup, I cannot stand that starting rotation. And frankly, I don't like the bullpen that much. I used to love the bullpen. No, I don't like it anymore. A guy like Gallegos, I loved Gallegos a year and a half ago. Now I'm like, I don't really want you in leverage. That is my takeaway there. Do I think Helsley's awesome? Yeah. Do I think Sonny Gray is going to be awesome? Yeah. But do I think Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, Steven Matz are going to be great? No, I don't at all. I hope Jordan Walker takes a leap. But we're banking on a lot of guys. We're banking on Paul Goldschmidt not looking 36 years old. We're banking on Nolan Arenado not looking 33 years old. That's my overall takeaway. We're expecting 2021 production from the 2024 St. Louis Cardinals, and I just don't think we can do that. That's why I go under.
Peter?
Yeah, I'm a little bit under. I actually make the line at 85.5 as well. There are things about the Cardinals that I like more than last year. I remember we were talking about when they first signed Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, that this rotation, and of course Sonny Gray, they just need innings so that it's not all on this bullpen day in and day out. And then when we get into the dog days, the arms are already shot. Ryan Helsley hits the IL, and then you just have no names coming out of the bullpen and blowing it, right? So I like that they're getting more length. I also do think that this Cardinals offense is a little bit overrated because I still think we're thinking about Arenado and Goldschmidt as the MVP candidates when they might not be anymore, like you just mentioned.
It's the 2021 Cardinals that we're just copy and pasting into 2024.
And I think Nolan Gorman could end up being the best hitter on this team when it's all said and done, right? Like, what does Wilson Contreras look like this year? Does he get better than last year?
It depends if Yachty approves of him or not.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just looking at a team that I think is going to be very good defensively. I think is going to be good offensively. I think the pitching will be fine overall, which doesn't, and there's not a ton of upside either, right? I guess outside of Jordan Walker and Mason Wynn, but is Mason Wynn going to make such an impact in year one that he vaults himself in a top 10 shortstop conversation?
Offensive,
I don't think so. I think Jordan Walker can do that, and I think Nolan Gorman can do that, and I think there's your upside.
Yeah.
But, like, do them having great years change the trajectory of the Cardinals? I don't think so. At the same time, though, I think they're still the best team in the division, but I'm still going under. They're a confusing bunch. I'm not betting it at all.
My concern is, yeah, they replaced some innings, but and adding Sonny Gray is great.
Yeah,
being hurt to start the year sucks. He should be back relatively early.
Yeah,
but you also got 121 innings out of Jordan Montgomery.
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm. And you got to replace that. And
to be fair to them, they also had a lot of innings of Adam Wainwright going up.
That is all.
It was 100 innings. Yeah.
Yeah.
That opponents. I looked at the slash line again. I looked at the slash line actually last night. Opponents hit 345 with a 400.
Yeah, I'll call that a wash, honestly. That's a fair note.
Yeah.
And then you look at what they were getting from like a Jack Flaherty. You'd assume that that's similar ERA-wise to what you'll get from a Lance Lynn, you'd hope.
Yeah, you hope.
Or a Kyle Gibson. So this one was really hard for me. I think this is one of the more difficult teams to
100%.
project and to discuss. Tommy Edman being hurt is a little bit alarming. I think Nootbaar should be ready to go by the start of the season. Or
it'll be close. Yeah.
Early going. I like the bats a lot still. And ultimately, I'm going to go over. I'm just going to lean slight over. And it's just because I think it's such a low number at the end of the day. And but it's also one of those where they won 71 games last year. Like, they're going to make a 15-game jump.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But
but to be fair, they had like a 20-game drop from 21 to
that is also
so it's
true.
Like those things can happen.
I don't know what it is. This is more of a gut pick. I wish I could give you more than that.
Yeah.
But I like some of the guys that they have in the upper minors as well to plug in or potentially trade. I think Jay-Z could come in and help them big time offensively.
Yep.
And they do need help pitching wise. But I think Cooper Jerpy could come up and help them. That's the other thing is I think Jerpy's good. Michael McGreevy can be an innings eater for them. I'm not super high on him, but he could definitely be a 5 innings eater. I think they've got more pitching options built in with their own team than they had last year, where it was like, all right, Libby, you're up again. Gets shelled back down. Like, they have more options to pick from. Graceffo, I still think, could be a solid back-end arm.
Yeah.
I think with the upper minors guys that they have, I think they piece it together. Sonny Gray is something that they just didn't have last year. I'm going to give them slight over, but I don't feel great about it.
Okay, so we jump to the Chicago Cubs here, the arch nemesis, and this may shock some. I go under 84.5, ever so slightly. I think they are an 82-win team. I think they go 82-80. I love their up-the-middle situation right now. Do they run out Bellinger in center, or is he the first baseman? If they run out Bellinger in center, and you've got Swanson at short, Horner at second, Bellinger in center, I feel awesome about it. I love Seiya Suzuki this year. I think he's going to go crazy this year.
Yep.
But Hap's hurt right now, man, and they're trying to do the jigsaw thing. Do they have an answer at third base? Is Christopher Morel going to play third base? I have no idea yet. How quickly is Matt Shaw ready if the answer is no? My concerns are with the pitching staff. I like Alzolay as a closer. I think Alzolay is a good closer. I don't think he's a great closer. And you need a great closer if you're going to win a division, I do think. I worry about the setup options. Is Yency Almonte going to be good for the Chicago Cubs? We have no idea. Is Merriweather going to be good? Is he going to be healthy? We have no idea. And then I look at the rotation. Hector Neris. Is he going to be good? He's struggled.
Projections hate him, too.
Projections hate him. And I love Neris, but I don't know if he's going to be great. He doesn't look like last year's Neris in spring training. And then you go to the starting rotation. I love Justin Steele, friend of the program. Imanaga, is there going to be an acclimation process? I don't know, especially in a windy Wrigley Field day game. Do I feel good about a four-seam guy like that? Yeah, I'm not sure. Kyle Hendricks, does he have any meat left on the bone? Tyone, what is he? I've got questions.
Hurt, right?
Yes, I've got questions, and I have too many questions to say over, so I go under 84.5.
You want to go or you want me to go?
You go.
The Cubs are quite possibly, in my opinion, the toughest team to gauge. And I'm going to bring some just betting tidbits into this. The Cubs last year, this is what the books thought the Cubs should be. 77.5. Is this current Cubs team that much better than last year's? And now, the reason why they are confusing, and that would tell you to take the under. Like, my number says 82.5.
Yeah.
I should be on the under.
Yeah.
2-win value, that would mean I'd bet it.
Yeah.
I didn't bet it because I'm scared. So Pythagorean win expectancy estimates how many games a team should win based on their runs and allowed. They were -7 in that metric, which is actually a good thing. Basically means they thought they should have won 7 more games than they even did last year. And it kind of is highlighted by the Seiya Suzuki dropping that ball and them not making the playoffs. Also, we talked about the Marlins in one-run games. The Cubs were on the low end of that. So they actually, if luck is now on their side this season, they should win more games. So were the books just wrong on them? That is my question, because the books aren't wrong often. They're just a weird team with a weird line, and there's players I like. There's a lot of holes, but there's also a ton of upside. Like, what if Cody Bellinger is, like, not a regression candidate? What if he just found, like, this weird thing where he makes the most of his contact, right? Jose Altuve has been a guy with quality of contact concerns his entire career, and it never seems to matter, right? I don't know if he just found something or not. So it's going to be a good defensive team. There's going to be good pitchers at the top. I think Shota Imanaga is actually going to have a good season. I still like some guys in the bullpen. My numbers say under. I'll say under for this exercise, but I am not betting it.
My thing is this. Hendricks was good last year.
He was weirdly good.
And Marcus Stroman being subtracted is one side of it, but then does Shota Imanaga do better or worse than this? 136 and 2/3 innings, 3.95 ERA.
I think he does that.
I think that's exactly what he's going to do.
More innings, though. I think he'll stay healthy this year.
So you kind of replace that. You look at the lineup, it's pretty much the same for the most part.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of trust being put into Michael Busch, a guy who the Dodgers have not trusted. And I know it's the Dodgers, but at the same time, it's a lot of trust for a guy that
Dodgers didn't trust Bellinger either. Maybe that's just a pipeline.
Yeah, maybe it's
Chicago.
a good thing.
Yeah.
No, and that's not always the best way to think about it. But at the same time, it's like they're not only expecting him to be their everyday guy in a corner at first base, like one of the most important offensive positions. Like they really need him to be one of their big time contributors. I do think Seiya makes a big jump. Again, you mentioned loving up the middle there. This is another one that's really tough. 83 wins last year, and they're kind of right at the same number this year. I'm gonna go slight under just because I don't love the offense as much as I think maybe some might be feeling. I don't know how Morel performs over 162. Yeah. I still can't figure out what his defensive value is and where his home is long term. Ian Happ, you mentioned kind of being banged up. Yan Gomes is their catcher right now.
And Gomes is endearing. Cubs fans like him. He did a really good job there, relatively speaking. But again, we're speaking relative.
He's like an Austin Hedges kind of guy.
I mean, he's better than Hedges.
I don't know. I like that.
Not Wilson Contreras. I promise you that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go slight under. There's just nothing is proficient for me. It's just kind of.
You know what's this? Is one of the. This is real quick. This is one of those where context matters. Like people are gonna see the graphic and see it's a clean sweep on the under, and it's like, wow, these guys hate us.
No, it's like I think they win 84 games. Like it's 84 and a half. I think they win 84. There was a part of me when I was making my numbers, and it's like, oh, I have value on the Cubs, and I had just this thought to myself, where last season when I was betting on Cubs games, I thought David Ross screwed me out of 5 wins. Like I thought his bullpen management. I just never understood it. I just always felt like the wrong guy was being put in the wrong situation. Pinch hitters when they don't need to. Bunting in situations where they didn't need to. Now you add Craig Counsell. What does that do to the team? And maybe that's also, it could be a bad take of me thinking David Ross is bad.
This is just,
I get feelings when I need a win, and I'm like, what are you doing? That's objectively the wrong decision.
So this gets into the big picture can of worms, and it's like, how many wins can a manager actually give you? And I think my answer is like max 5.
Well, if he does,
that's an 88 win team from last year. So
that might put me at the over.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, it's such a tough one.
Ultimately, the defensive situation is kind of puzzling for the Morel. The corners make me a little bit nervous.
Yep.
They put Bellinger at first, and then up having Tauchman in center.
Tauchman
comes up like he's fine. Yeah, he struggled mightily in the second half.
Yeah, he did.
I'm gonna go very slight under. I think they were like 83 games.
Yeah.
All right, we jump over to the Cincinnati Reds here. This is a very easy one. I'm going to get this out of the way for me. I actually feel very strongly that they are a team that goes over. And I'm going to go back to the thing that I always cite, starting pitching depth. I think by the All-Star break, you're going to look at this Reds rotation and say, holy shit, they're 9 deep. I feel good about who's starting in Louisville right now. I think that guy can come up and plug in and start a game at the major league level. And all these young guys taking that step up. Am I worried about Friedel and the fractured wrist? Yes, absolutely. He's going to miss months. Am I worried about Fraley now possibly being absent? Yes, I am. But you got a guy like Jacob Hurtubise. Give him extended runs. See what the hell happens. It might be awesome. It might be electrifying. I think he's a leveled up version of Siani. Like, there are ways. I mean, now with Noelvi Marte suspended, that could open up a bunch of plate appearances that Christian Encarnacion Strand was not looking at before. I think CES might be a better bat than Noelvi Marte. So there we go. Like, I think that the Reds are going to run out as exciting of a young lineup as we have in Major League Baseball, and they're going to run out as deep of a mid-level starting rotation as we have in Major League Baseball. Over.
They lost a lot of time from Matt McClain last year, who was playing out of his mind, and now he's going to be available. I love that up-the-middle duo. Ellie is going to be better. I don't know how much better is the question. Be better.
I mean, dude, you saw it for 2 weeks with O'Neal Cruz last week. The first 2 weeks of the season for O'Neal Cruz last year, last year. First 2 weeks of the season before he broke his ankle, he looked awesome. He looked like a different dude. Why can't Ellie look like a different dude?
I agree. And then I also just feel like this lineup is only going to get better because of how young it is. Like Steer, he was great last year. He's only going to get better.
Best player ever.
I agree.
Yeah.
Will Benson just continues to mature at the plate and looks like an absolute masher. And then the other aspect of it that's really fascinating to me is Eimer Candelario. I think he hits 30 bombs this year.
He might.
I think adding a vet to balance out some of the volatility of the youth in this lineup is really exciting. Stevenson cannot be worse.
Yeah.
We talked about X factors. He can't be worse. And then this rotation is so much better.
Yes.
I really do. Montes, if he's what everybody's saying and what he looks like in spring training so far, wow, because then you got Hunter Green, who was, missed some time. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I think the Nick Martinez addition is huge because he's so safe, can eat innings, give you a low fours at the worst, and they needed that. And then you hope Lodolo comes back. You hope Connor Phillips can be in the fold. You got Andrew Abbott. You got Ashcraft. They've got so many options. I think this team is an easy over. This is probably one of my favorite overs.
I love it. And
Peter's under.
Yeah, Peter's going to rain on the parade. He's under. I already wrote it down in OneNote.
I am on the under. I did not bet it. When I was going through these Fangraphs, Pacoda projections, compiling them all, the most overvalued team was the Cincinnati Reds. Pythagorean win expectancy.
Oh, you're
77 games. One-run games flipped last year. 77 games. The average projection for them is anywhere from 75 to 79. And there's so much hype around this team. And you guys laid it out. And while I see a ton of value on the under, I didn't bet the under because I totally get what you guys are saying. Like, I made my number 80.5. I am the high guy in the projection market.
This is really fun. I just get to read Peter's article because I can see his laptop.
And it's
great.
Still 2 wins under their projected win. And I get the only reason I can understand where they're coming from is Frankie Montas looks good in spring training. But we've also seen years where Frankie Montas looks good for a little bit, gets hurt. Hunter Green, talented, can get hurt. Nick Lodolo, talented, can get hurt. Graham Ashcraft, at some point we keep saying he's great, and then he keeps putting up a 5 ERA, right? The bullpen, outside of Alexis Diaz, I think there's some good names there, but also a lot of them overperform their performance.
Lovey and Jabot.
Right? I think there's a lot of straight offensive pieces, but couldn't this feel like an entire team sophomore slump in a way? Couldn't you see that happening?
That would be a nightmare.
But it was a lot of rookies who hit the ground running, got a little bit banged up, and what if pitchers are now, all right, we know how to pitch to these guys now. We know how to pitch to Ellie. We know how to pitch to McLean. We know how to pitch to a certain amount of these guys. And I could just see this team being in the mid-70s. I really can. I'm not betting on the under. I am a part of Reds Nation. I want this team to win the division. They're one of the most fun teams to watch day in and day out. But I got to follow my numbers, and I'm on the under.
All right.
I also forgot Brandon Williamson throwing a little bit harder this spring.
Yeah.
And they've got they're 10 deep.
They're 9.
What I'm saying. That's a fine 5.
Yeah. Define good. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he's not a 3. He's a 5.
Yeah. No, it's just
off the dome, real quick, by the All-Star break, here's who they could possibly run out and you feel somewhat comfortable making a start, assuming full health. Frankie Montas, Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, assuming full health again, Nick Martinez, let's go Graham Ashcraft, and then let's go Andrew Abbott is 6, Connor Phillips is 7, Chase Petty is 8. I do think he'll be ready by the All-Star break. Brandon Williamson is 9. And at that point, you still have Roa, you still have Spires kind of waiting. I see
Lion Richardson.
Lion Richardson is a reliever, I think.
Yes, he is, but
I mean, that's a guy who...
Hell, man, Rhett Lauder might even get up there by the end.
Lauder might do that by the All-Star break. So, yeah, we're talking about 10 deep.
But it's 10 deep. It was you have to say, let's assume health for 7 of them. And it's
but you have 10.
I know. I know.
100%. And I think you can do that with everyone.
That's why I was no, that's why, I do not want to be on this under. I did not bet it. When I did that, I was shocked to see how every projection system was this is so overvalued, and I should be betting on it, but I'm not because of what you guys are saying.
I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is you think the Reds suck.
I think the Reds are horrible.
Bingo.
Down.
Bingo.
Except Steer. I'm going over on all of him.
Do the Milwaukee Brewers suck?
Yes.
76.5 is their projected win total. This is one that made me scratch my head. I think they start trading at the deadline.
Yeah,
that's where I start to go under. They have a lot of guys that can plug into a major league lineup. Do they have a lot of guys that can be good in a major league lineup in 2024? I don't know. I've got no idea. Freddie Peralta is the opening day starter. I love what Gasser could do as a rookie, but love is a relative term. I love what DL Hall could do. Again, love is a relative term.
You love Joe Ross.
I love Colin Ray as a former KBO guy or NPB guy?
International.
He might be NPB.
He might be NPB, but I go under. I don't think this pitching staff is good enough, and I think Devin Williams and Willy Adames are not on this team on August 2nd.
So that's scenario one. And it's very, like, I would almost say it's more likely than scenario number two. I wrote this down, and I bet the Brewers to win this division at plus 800. And the reason I did that is I look at the Brewers roster, the Cubs, the Reds, and the Cardinals, and I really don't see that big of a difference. So if I'm looking at a team that won 92 games last year and didn't get that much worse outside of course, losing Corbin Burns, which is huge, and no wonder. That's why the win total dropped a ton, and it makes a lot of sense. But I am also very excited for a lot of these young hitters, right? We talk about Garrett Mitchell, but how about Jackson Chourio in center field, right? They have 3 different third basemen that I think could actually perform well this year. Bryce Terang at second. Like, we just keep going around the diamond. I expect Willy Adames to have a better year than he did last year. I think Freddie Peralta could catapult himself into ace-level category. He was second in strikeout minus walk rate last year, only to Spencer Strider. He was electric last year, I thought. I mean, there were some blow-up starts. Obviously, that's what happens, but I think Freddie Peralta could be a stud for them this year. And we talk about, like, is Mizorowski ready? Because he looks like the he looks like, all I'm saying is he might not be ready, but when I just watch highlights, I'm like, this guy is the nastiest. I mean, he's incredible. He's 103.
He is
insane.
There's a reason they call him highlights.
Exactly. I look at a bullpen, and I think it's the best in the division as well by a decent margin. So if they get off to a good start and don't sell, I think this team can compete for a National League Central crown. But to your point, if they start off slow, Devin Williams might be gone.
And Willie out. And Devin's out. Yeah.
And them both could be gone. So that's why I didn't bet on the win total. I just took upside. If it all clicks, and the pitching comes to play, like Wade Miley, we look up and he's like, oh, Wade Miley had 6 shutout innings today, and it was not fun to watch, but he did it.
So do you want me to put down an O or a U?
Put down the over for me.
Okay.
But I didn't bet it. I just bet Division 4 upside.
Got it. All right.
I like the lineup a lot. I thought the Rhys Hoskins edition is going to be one of those that looks really, really good. But ultimately, I think they end up subtracting. I do. And I like the bench, Joey Ortiz, Joey Wiemer. I think it could be one of the better benches. Monasterio in there that you're going to have. But with Devin Williams hurt, that was kind of the nail in the coffin for me on the under. I like Peralta a lot, but then it gets in. I think DL Hall is going to be great, but there's a lot of risk there. And this isn't a team where you could just kind of keep throwing in options and say, oh, this guy can come in, this guy can come in like we did with the Reds. I'm not counting on Colin Ray, Jacob Junis, and Joe Ross. I just can't.
Yeah.
And with Devin being out, now you have some, to plug some other guys in high leverage. I do like the bullpen, but ultimately, I think they end up subtracting a little bit. I think they go slightly under. But I do see the upside that Peter's talking about because the lineup is good. If Gasser can come in, if Hall pitches the way we think he can, then I could see the upside. But I'm going to err on the side of under just because of those limitations.
Probably what most likely happens. But I'm going with scenario one.
I get it. Let's wrap up the National League Central with the Pittsburgh Pirates here. And this was another very easy number for me to digest. 74.5 is the projected win total. Look at the opening day roster. Then think about who's going to get up after that. I go over 74.5. If you haven't been keyed into what the Pirates offense is doing in spring training, you should be keyed into what the Pirates offense is doing in spring training. Henry Davis has been a madman. O'Neal Cruz has 7 bombs in Grapefruit League play. We're not playing in Arizona. We're playing in Florida. I mean, Sawinski looks fine. Reynolds looks fine. This entire lineup, frankly, looks good. And they're going to pinch out guys that are major league caliber, and they're going to be in AAA. And then I go to the starting rotation. Mitch Keller is the opening day starter. Mitch Keller is an all-star. The 2 is Marco. The 3 is Martin Perez. They're interchangeable. 4 and 5 is the question. I think Jared Jones is deserving of an opening day rotation.
Looks great in spring. Martin Perez has actually looked pretty good.
Martin Perez has looked good.
Yeah.
But might I point you in the direction of Paul Skeens, who might be down for a month?
Yeah.
Or it should be a minute. Maybe that'll be down to get lunch and then come back.
Yeah, St. Elmo's, get the shrimp cocktail if he's coming to Indy, or get Altoona Pizza if he's going back to AA.
Luis Ortiz,
Quinn Priester. At the end of the year, this rotation could look like Keller, Skeens, Jones, Ortiz, Priester, with Chandler and Solomito knocking on the door.
It's actually really exciting.
That's disgusting. Really and then you've got guys like David Bednar, Aroldis Chapman, Colin Holderman. Like, they have options in the bullpen. This is a good team that nobody wants to say is good.
Yep.
I think they're a good team, and I go over 74.5.
That was a really good pitch. So I make the line 74.5.
Also, one more quick thing. Oneil Cruz makes a superstar jump this year. That's my take.
If he stays healthy, he looks like a freak of nature. Peyton Genis, another one of our, just amazing guys. Big League Analysis on TikTok, editor. He does everything here for Just Baseball. He put out a stat where Oneil Cruz already has more 110-plus mile-an-hour home runs in spring than the Guardians and the tied with the Nationals did in all of last season. Freak. Just a freak of nature. Alien. There's a lot of guys like Chapman, Martin Perez, Marco Gonzalez, Yasmani Grandal, right? We go through the roster. It's like, well, they're probably going to be gone at the deadline too. But you do make some good points about these young guys coming up. I guess I'm just not fully sold on them before I've seen a lot of them make their big league debut to say that potential kicks in this year. I was planning on going into this episode on the under, but you made a really good pitch. I want to hear Arm, and then I'll finish, because I make the line literally 74.5, so I can be convinced here.
Got it.
I'm going on the over.
Yeah.
I think this team's not bad at all. I like Jack Sawinski. I think he's pretty underrated.
Yeah.
But I think if Brian Hayes makes the leap.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about that. What he did in the second half was really impressive. Made some swing adjustments. Looked really good. If he makes a little bit of a leap here with Oneil Cruz making a leap, I think Brian Reynolds is going to be better than he was last year. It was a step backwards last year.
It was like a 2-win season last year.
It was not good. Davis, you talked about what he's been doing. I mean, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And then even just adding Michael A. Taylor into center field, just giving them a little bit more depth. I like the situation they've got there. And then, yes, we're counting on some youngins, but Jared Jones is the kind of guy that can come in, plug in, and make an impact. Polsky is the kind of guy that can plug in and make an impact right away. And I like Ortiz, what we've seen there.
Mm-hmm.
Only guy I'm really worried about is Marco Gonzalez. They can take care of that. I think they're all right.
It's a 74.5 win total. Like 74.5 win total teams might have a Marco Gonzalez.
Yeah,
they're
can maybe plug
they're going to win 100 games. Right. They're going to lose some.
Anything they get from Roansy Contreras, who looked like a huge piece of the future, is like seemingly bonus.
But you were listing all of the rookie pitchers and you just didn't even mention them. I was like,
he's looked not.
I know. I
think he leads Major League Baseball in walks issued.
I understand why you didn't. It's just, damn. You guys make a lot of really good points. You do. I was a little bit down because I was focusing on some of the assets that are going to leave, kind of like I focused with the Nationals and I focused with the Brewers scenario. But a lot of the pieces that are supposed to be shipped off, are their problems.
Yeah.
If you think about it. Like Martin Perez and Marco Gonzalez, if they're gone, probably a good thing.
Yeah.
If Aroldis Chapman is gone, might be a good thing.
Yeah, the young replacement won't be a big deal.
So I'm going to go with the over with you guys as well. You guys convinced me. I was leaning under, but that was a good pitch. I'm on the over with you guys.